Oh, I know you folks have been looking forward to this one, and you know what? So have I. Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mr. TARDIS, and this is one of the big ones. This is one of Big Finish's biggest releases in 2026, for my money at least, and that is the debut box set of the 11th Doctor Adventures. This box set is called The First Question. Now, this is not the first series that we've had with the 11th Doctor for Big Finish. You folks may remember the 11th Doctor Chronicles, which starred Jacob Dudman as the 11th Doctor, with new companion Valerie Lockwood, played by Safia Ingar, and this run is incredible. It's genuinely some of the best that Big Finish have to offer from the past couple of years, and I highly recommend it. However, Jacob Dudman has stepped away from the role of the 11th and also the 12th Doctor, because he played the 12th Doctor in the 12th Doctor Chronicles as well, and we're now getting the 11th Doctor Adventures, so a slight rebrand here, but also a recast. We have friend of the channel, Miles Taylor, as the 11th Doctor, and I can't believe he kept that a secret from me. And just like the 11th Doctor Chronicles gave us a new companion in Valerie Lockwood, we have another new companion here. Meet Eleanor Fong, played by Jasmine Bays, a tech CEO from 1990s Hong Kong, and this is her introductory box set. We have a trilogy of stories. We have The Final Cut by Lisa McMullen from a story by Max Kachevsky, The Tourist Trap by Beth Axford, and A Delusion of Witches by Lisa McMullen. But it's not just a rebrand that we've had with the 11th Doctor, it's a changing of the script editors behind the scenes. Originally, it was Matt Fitton and Alfie Shaw who oversaw the 11th Doctor Chronicles, and with the 11th Doctor Adventures now, we have script editors William Croft and Max Kachevsky. And while the Chronicles took place midway through Series 7, basically between the Snowmen and the Bells of St. John when the 11th Doctor is looking for Clara, the 11th Doctor Adventures takes place after the events of The Wedding of River Song, where the 11th Doctor has managed to escape his death at the hands of the Silence at Lake Silencio, and is basically trying to lay low after his wedding to make sure that his friends are not threatened or impacted by the knowledge of his life. So let's go through these stories one by one. Firstly, The Final Cut by Lisa McMullen. It takes place in Hong Kong in 1990, and Eleanor Fong is CEO of Fong Enterprises, which is essentially a tech company, but a 1990s tech company. So it's televisions, it's screens, it's videotapes, and Fong Enterprises have recently opened up another business avenue, essentially electrical therapy to remove bad memories from clients and customers. Because all life and memories and brain activity is essentially electrical energy, so they're able to harness that and take it away, put it on a tape, and then they can wipe the tape. However, the 11th Doctor is investigating Fong Enterprises, and the Doctor and Eleanor kind of hit it off on the right foot, which is good because the two are going to have to help each other in order to conquer these static electrical creatures, these humanoid figures that are making their way through the building. And eventually they breach containment and they threaten the whole of Hong Kong.
Show me your security pass.
Security pass, right. 2 ticks. How's this?
British Hong Kong Electronics Regulatory Board.
That's me. Oh, Hong Kong, eh? What year?
There's no name? On your pass.
Isn't there? No, well, it's an undercover investigation.
Of what?
No idea, that's why we're investigating. Oh, no, not the ground floor, we want the basement. We need to turn off the building's electricity before Static Man up there sparks back into life.
I don't think so.
Oh, the armed guards aren't necessary. I'll be fine with a screwdriver.
I hit the alarm before you got into the lift. This man is an intruder, and he's armed.
It's a screwdriver. Look, it's not even pointy.
Put him in the White Room.
The White Room? Oh, do you not have anything darker? Because not gonna lie, I'm a spiller. Bound to make a mess. Second thoughts. Great name. The White Room. Love the album.
First things first, how is Miles Taylor? He's really good. I think that in this box set, there's a few teething issues in the final cut. I think he's like 90% of the way there with the Matt Smith impression. This is less say Tim Treloar and Stephen Noonan, where they have the inflections and the character down, but you can tell that it's an impressionist. You can tell that it's another actor. No, we're in Jacob Dudman as the 11th Doctor and Jonathan Carley as the War Doctor territory, where after a few scenes, you forget you're listening to an impressionist. And I think, like I said, he's about 90% of the way there in the final cut, but in the following stories, The Tourist Trap and Delusion of Witches, he's there. He's hit the groove, and it's basically like Matt Smith is in Big Finish audio dramas. I think that Miles Taylor does a really amazing job embodying this incarnation, and I think he gets the serious moments, the fun, bombastic whimsy of this fairy tale time traveler. I think he really does nail the intricacies of this really unique incarnation. But a big part of that is how he's characterized and written over these three stories, and the two writers, Lisa McMullen and Beth Axford, do a brilliant job characterizing the 11th Doctor. I think that in the long run, this is a series of Big Finish box sets that will ultimately be beneficial to the TV series, because if you watch the episodes in order, go from Series 6 to Series 7, from The Wedding of River Song to The Doctor, the Wind and the Wardrobe, it's so whiplash-inducing, where you have the 11th Doctor saying, "Oh, I need to be quieter in the shadows now," and then he immediately opens the next episode by destroying a spaceship. And that sounds funny, but I don't think the TV series intended that level of whiplash. It kind of negates the whole point of Series 6 if the 11th Doctor just goes right back to business as usual afterwards. But with the box set here, set during that time when he's meant to be laying low in the shadows and he's trying to make sure that the universe don't know that the Doctor is still alive, then if you have that breathing room, if you have that space there with the 11th Doctor, it improves the TV series. And one of the things the 11th Doctor was doing during that laying low period was that he received a distress call from Eleanor Fong, so he answers it, but he's 11 years too late. And what I really like about this story, and I really hope we carry this on, we don't know what Eleanor Fong was distressed about 11 years ago. And you know what? I don't want to know. I don't want to know what hurt and upset Eleanor so much 11 years ago when she was a child that it just broke through time and space and called the Doctor to her. I don't want to know, and I really hope we don't find out. I think it's more interesting, and I think it's more impactful to let it be ambiguous, and I really hope future box sets don't outright confirm it. I think that will take something away from the impact. I think the idea of harnessing the electrical energy that basically encompasses all life in the universe since the Big Bang, really cool idea, really cool premise. I'm kind of amazed that Doctor Who hasn't really done it before. And the final cut is a strong, solid opener. There's one issue, well, maybe it's not an issue, more of a flag, in just something I want to keep an eye on when it comes to these future adventures with this new companion. I'm not quite sure what arc Eleanor is meant to have, or what journey she's meant to be undergoing, or what she's trying to learn about herself, but basically what is her deal. Because in this story, she seems a bit too perfect, a bit too nice. She's a good, generous CEO, which is completely unrealistic, and while there are things that she needs to overcome, these are bad things that have happened to her. These aren't bad things that she's done that she has to learn from and atone for. It's not necessarily an issue. I just kind of want to know, what are we as an audience meant to learn about Eleanor and take away from this character? Why have you created a brand new character for the audio dramas, and what are we meant to take away from her? I'm kind of, that's my first question. Maybe that is the first question of the title, I don't know. It's just something I want to kind of keep an eye on. But regardless, I think it's a really strong debut for Jasmine Bays, who's this really sardonic and really quick-witted companion. I'm kind of waiting for what her flaw is, because frequently over the course of this box set she does match and sometimes even outsmart the Doctor on a few occasions. I'm worried that she's just too perfect. I want to know how these two, what would actually come between these two to make them butt heads. That's not an issue, it's a flag. Next up is The Tourist Trap by Beth Axford, and the best way to describe this story is that it's a cross between The End of the World and The Beast Below. Not just that it's a second story for a Doctor and companion dynamic, but because it basically is dealing with similar territory, with Tourist Trap expanding on the starship concept from The Beast Below. In this case, the Doctor and Eleanor land on Starship Florida, and originally Starship Florida was meant to be a wonderful tourist destination, but it got turned into basically a life raft for humanity after solar flares threatened to wipe out the species. So the Doctor and Eleanor land on Space Florida in the far future, but there's no sign of humans, there's no sign of life. Everything's frozen, including the waves and the beaches. It's all ice cold, and the only person that they meet there is not a person. It's an AI called Ray, voiced by David Kendall. Ray is this cheery, really eager to please AI who's basically everywhere at the same time. He's the automated sand on the beach, he's the parasols, he is the hot dog vendor, he's the milkshake maker, he's all the computers, he is everywhere. And he may be the reason why the ship is apparently empty, and the Doctor and Eleanor have to discover what's happened here and how they can fix it, because apparently there's monsters out in space.
What, 80 years? Who did this?
I did.
Why the hell would you do that?
The station was attacked. Our energy reserves were drained. Life support went critical. I activated the cryogenic emergency protocol to preserve the population.
You might not have had any other choice. Who was it, Ray? Who attacked you?
Accessing. While you wait, why not try our banging buffalo burger with a side of Mad Mac and cheese loaded fries?
Ray.
It was a monster.
Great. Of course it was. What kind of a monster can attack something as big as a space station?
Information unknown.
Ray, I need to know something, and it's important. What are your specials? No sense in working on an empty stomach. Ray, 2 shakes on the double.
Seriously?
I have certain rules, and one of them is there's always time for a milkshake.
The Tourist Trap is not the first story in the Doctor Who universe that Beth Axford has written, but I believe it's her first full-cast audio drama. And it's a stonking great debut. This is a terrific story, my favourite of the box set, to be honest. And what's amazing is that it's essentially a three-hander. It's just 3 characters. It's the Doctor, it's Eleanor, and it's Ray. And it's basically a great exercise in world building and theme and character, and it just feels like there's so much going on here. It's such a dense script. It does feel like the perfect audio drama in that it's something that would be very difficult to depict visually in the TV series, but it still feels high concept enough for it to work in the Doctor Who universe, but only in audio. It's a really, really effective story about mortality, both humanity's and also the Doctor's ability to fake his own death and what that means for him and the wider universe and why he's done that. And the episode also dedicates a really good amount of time to Eleanor reacting to these discoveries about humanity, and also this new adventurer who's taken her on board his magical time and space machine. What secret is he hiding? You know, why has he done this? David Kendall is brilliant as Ray, this really chipper artificial intelligence who kind of becomes really threatening towards the end as well once it's revealed exactly what happened, because of course, you know, it's the AI gone rogue and gone amok or whatever, but the unique way that it has gone rogue and what it's doing and why it's doing it, that's where the Tourist Trap really finds the unique angle on the story. This is not just some AI is bad story just as generic as it could have been. No, it actually deals with some really interesting questions about, you know, the responsibility of the technology that we entrust so much of our lives to. But the Tourist Trap really is the whole package. It's fun, it's funny, it's got really impactful dramatic moments, particularly the last 10 minutes, and it's also action-packed and frenetic. It really is just the full package, and it's a brilliant debut as a full cast audio drama from Beth Axford. Really, really strong stuff. And lastly, we have A Delusion of Witches by Lisa McMullen. This is set during the Salem witch trials in 1692. For those of you who don't know, in Salem, Massachusetts, it was basically ground zero for witchcraft accusations and witch trials. And while the record keeping from the time isn't the best, it's basically accepted as a given that there were no witches and that these witch trials were just an excuse to kill a bunch of predominantly women. So the Doctor and Eleanor land in the middle of a witch trial, and the accused is Mary Morton, played by Becky Wright, and there's no record of a Mary Morton in the Salem witch trials, which immediately piques the Doctor's suspicion. And also we have the judge of the witch trial, Judge Crowling, played by Barnaby Edwards, and there's no record of a Crowling either, so the Doctor and Eleanor stay to try and fight Mary Morton's corner. However, there is indeed something going on in Salem, Massachusetts, and humanity more broadly, and Mary Morton and Crowling are not what they seem, and it's got nothing to do with witches.
Oh, my body is not my body! I am possessed!
An evil spirit has her! See how her body contorts in agonies!
Let me go, Mary! I ain't doing nothing!
Bravo! And the award for outstanding dramatic performance goes to Elizabeth Hubbard.
Yeah, very subtle.
Her spirit is upon me!
Oh, get up.
Cotton, who is this man?
Counsel for the defence.
The accused are to defend themselves, Mr.
Dr. Esquire. My qualifications. Don't worry, Mary. I tend to work pro bono.
Oh, you said you were a doctor, not a lawyer?
A doctor who is running out of patience. Tell me, Lizzie, how many people have you accused?
I'm not sure.
Lost count. Hardly surprising. According to our records, you filed 40 legal complaints and given testimony 32 times this year.
A Delusion of Witches is a really interesting story to kind of break down. It almost feels like it could have just been a stage play. The setting is very contained. It's basically one location. It's essentially a 45 minute single scene conversation between the Doctor, Eleanor, Mary, and Crowling. It's very, very dialogue heavy, even by the extent... It's very, very dialogue heavy, even by the standards of a full cast audio drama, but it's playing with some really interesting ideas and themes about prejudice and discrimination. And of course, we know that the Salem witch trials is effectively a really violent form of patriarchy, but the conceit at the heart of A Delusion of Witches makes it more like a universal discrimination. Like, Crowling as a character is not just a distillation of misogyny and patriarchy, he's also a distillation of many other bigotries. It could be transphobia, it could be anti-Semitism. It's painting a very broad brush, but I think Lisa McMullen's script, which is really respectful and really somber to the source material, because you could have fun with witchcraft and witch trials and stuff, but the Salem witch trials really happened. Dozens upon dozens of people were executed and killed after being accused wrongly of witchcraft, and it's a very bleak point in human history, and I think what Lisa McMullen has done is be really respectful and impactful with her script, and it's clearly something that she cares very deeply about. There's a real sense of seriousness to the proceedings without forgetting that this is a whimsical 11th Doctor Who story. It's able to balance its tone really effectively, and it's quite admirable in that respect. There are some really nice details as well when it comes to the pop culture references and the technological frame of reference that Eleanor has, being a character from 1990s Hong Kong. In The Tourist Trap, the Doctor tries to describe something as 3D printed or as like a laptop, and Eleanor has no idea what that is because those things haven't been invented yet, so the Doctor needs to figure out a new language. And in A Delusion of Witches, the frame of reference for the Salem witch trials is The Crucible, not the film from 1995-96, but the play from decades prior. Oh, and there's also a reference in A Delusion of Witches to Tim Burton's 1989 Batman, and in the final cut there's a really great reference to Grease. And in this story, we also have Elizabeth Hubbard, played here by Grace Darling, and Elizabeth was a teenager during the Salem witch trials who was old enough to stand trial and act as a witness for the supposed witchcraft happening around her, and it's basically historical consensus that Elizabeth Hubbard just made everything up because she wanted attention or she wanted power, or maybe she was like jealous of some people, so she basically used the idea of witchcraft as a way to kill people she didn't like. It's really grim shit, but A Delusion of Witches confronts that and allows a kind of preachy and indignant 11th Doctor to basically act as the moral arbiter of the Salem witch trials. And I think Miles Taylor as a performer really rises to the challenge of the script. And speaking of performances, Barnaby Edwards as Crowling, is so good in this story. It's a really intimidating performance as Crowling, as like the main villain of the episode. It's a really strong performance, and Barnaby Edwards, he's been around Big Finish for a long time, and he does often play like villain roles, but there's something about this one. There's something about his voice in this particular story. It kind of scared me sometimes. He's really, really good in this particular episode. And also, shout out to Becky Wright as well as Mary Morton, who is basically just barely like hanging on by a thread mentally in this story. She's put through the ringer here. And her closing moments as well in the story are really, really somber and impactful. The final few minutes as well, when Eleanor talks to the Doctor about, you know, what can you change? What's the point in time travel if you can't right these wrongs and these injustices? And I'd be interested to know if there's any sort of ramifications or impact moving forward between these two characters, and what Eleanor sees as these restrictions across time and space despite traveling with a Time Lord. I kind of hope that there is maybe a bit of more antagonism moving forward now that Eleanor kind of knows what the status quo is. All in all though, the 11th Doctor Adventures The First Question, the first box set in this whole new range of stories and this new Doctor companion dynamic, this was a really great box set. 3 really different and distinct stories, one set in 1990s Hong Kong, one set in space Florida in the far future, and one set during the Salem witch trials. Real great variety here, and a real showcase of this brand new creative team and this brand new talent. If there's one issue I have overall with the full box set, it's that the behind the scenes interviews don't have any interviews with any of the writers. There's nothing from Max Kachevsky, there's nothing from Lisa McMullen, there's nothing from Beth Axford in terms of actual interviews, and I want to hear from them. I want to hear what went into the writing process of these stories, because these are really fascinating and interesting stories, and I want to know why they did it and what the thought process was and what they have to say about it. Obviously, I do want to hear from Miles and Jasmine and Nicholas Briggs, who directed this as well. You know, I do want to hear from all of them, but I think it's a big missed opportunity, because when you have the 11th Doctor, when you have any modern Doctor basically with Big Finish audio, this could be a jumping on point for first time listeners, or you know, maybe some people who've dipped their toe into Big Finish with a few stories here and there, but okay, I'm going to dive into a full box set now because I love the 11th Doctor and I love the idea of a new companion set between series 6 and 7, and I think you should make the most of that brand new audience by exposing them to the writers as well in the behind the scenes interviews. You know, I think the behind the scenes interviews are good, but it's really missing that extra element. But I'm kind of nitpicking here because that's the behind the scenes interviews as opposed to the 3 main stories themselves, and these are 3 really good stories, and the Tourist Trap for me is the head and shoulders standout, although I did really like the final cut and I really respect A Delusion of Witches quite a lot. So that's the 11th Doctor Adventures The First Question. The next box set, Hidden in Plain Sight, comes out in August, so I'm really looking forward to that. That's the 11th Doctor with Eleanor facing off against the Judoon in the Shadow Proclamation, so I'm really looking forward to that. But in the meanwhile, let me know your thoughts on The First Question. Let me know if you've listened to it. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for more Doctor Who Big Finish reviews. Hit the like button because it really helps me out. And folks, I'll see you all next time.